My name is Blair Imani. Hi, everyone. How are you doing? So first, before I give my speech, this is probably part of it, but whatever. I got 17 rejections on my book before we ended up getting a contract with Penguin Random House, which is the biggest publisher in the world. So, as I like to say when I give talks at universities, follow your dreams, kids, because it's really powerful. We got so many rejections, I completely gave up. And then Caitlin Ketchum, who's also the editor of We Are Everywhere, she contacted me and had a meeting, which is amazing, because if you love Pokemon, you know Ash Ketchum is one of the characters. And her name is Caitlin Ketchum, so I was like, this is fabulous. I'm one of her Pokemon. We're probably going to publish a book. It's going to be amazing. So, and it was meant to be based off of that reference alone. Okay, this also reminds me of being in church. I grew up Baptist. I'm Muslim now. Things happen. People change. Just use your program as a fan. We'll get through this together, and you might catch the Holy Spirit. It'll be fine. So anyway, when all this whole book thing came out, I had actually come out as well. I came out to the world as a queer Muslim on national TV because I'm a Scorpio. And we do it big. And so I actually came out on Tucker Carlson Tonight. Yeah, that show. It's real. You can look it up on YouTube. I watch it often myself. I was there to talk about how we need safe spaces and, in the context of people being able to live their truth. So I was saying that, Muslim people need safe spaces to be free from harassment and surveillance, and Black people need safe spaces to be free from violence and racism and police violence, and LGBTQ people need safe spaces to be free from hate violence. And the Pulse shooting had just happened a year prior, 3 years ago, just yesterday. And so as I was saying this, Tucker Carlson in his bowl cut was going, "You're not here to speak on behalf of those communities." And I was like, well, actually, and that was full Scorpio mode. Well, sorry, where's my scarf? Well, actually, I'm a Black, in addition to being a Muslim person, I'm a Black queer woman. And he was like, eh. And it was great, because he was silent for like hella moments, and he was probably like, who did they book? They told me they were booking a Muslim. What is this intersectional, Pandora's box? And as he was going through that, I was thinking to myself, I was getting all these text messages and, messages from just different people, Twitter DMs from people who were sending me death threats, people who were sending me, supportive messages, mostly death threats, and people who were just really shocked that they watched TV and saw a queer Muslim on television. But there are so many of us out there in the world. And I guess that just kind of takes me back to the beginning. I came out to my mom when I was 15 years old, but before that, I knew I was not straight. Didn't know what straight was, but I knew I wasn't that. When I was 8 years old, because I had a crush on this one kid, whose name I won't say, because that's awkward. No, I won't. But anyway, I had a crush on this one kid in my class. I was 8 years old, and I had a crush on his older sister. And I was like, what's that about? And I remember being on the playground and kind of feeling like everything slowed down. It was like slow motion, very 90s, Nickelodeon movie, being like, oh, what's that? And I was trying to convince myself, no, you just like her because you like him. And I was like, no, self, I like him and her. And I knew that was different. I knew it wasn't normal, quote unquote. It's totally normal, because LGBTQ people are naturally occurring, like the rainbow that represents us. But I didn't know how to place it in my understanding of the world and of life, because when I saw Disney princesses weren't dating other Disney princesses. They were dating Disney princes and beasts randomly. So it was kind of confusing, but I eventually kind of figured it out, and people always tell me, oh, that's so young, but it's right around the time that, people start writing Valentine's Day notes, and you're like, oh, I hope I get one, and you're gonna get one, because they write one to everyone in the class, but you feel special. And so this kid and his sister, I had a crush on them forever, and then they grew up to be garbage people, which is so great, because then you don't have to think about them anymore. But I came out to my mom when I was 15, and I watch a lot of television, if you can't tell already. And I sat my mom down, and because I was ABC Family, you have to sit down. This is scripted. I grew up in LA, by the way, so that's a context as well you need. Very close to Hollywood. And so I was in my Catholic girls' school uniform, and I was like, Mommy, I'm a lesbian. And she was like, no. no, 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 no. Honey, you're bisexual. And I was like, oh, snap, that's a new word. And so I went online, Googled that, found the GLAD dictionary of references, which they still have. It's glad.org/reference if you need to look it up. And I was like, oh, bisexual. Oh, someone who's able to form attractions to people who are the same gender as them, as well as genders that are different than them. Sounds like me. And so I've been bisexual ever since, and I was before, and I am now. And I, like I said, am Muslim. I converted to Islam in 2015, and then I came out very in Scorpio fashion on national television. And so right after that happened, in the midst of this happening, we were trying to promote this book, Modern Herstory, which is available on sale over there, and it is signed. Some people would say no pressure, but pressure by the book. Pressure, and so it's a great book. It's one of my favorites. I wrote it. If you're not gonna promote yourself, who is? And so, thank you, my hubris. And so we were trying to raise money to get this book published. I was under the impression that for $10,000, which is what our goal was to raise, we could print the book, have it mass distributed, and research. No, that's not how. It's very expensive to make books. And so I don't want this to be like a fire festival situation. What I'll do is, shout out to Ja Rule. What I'll do is I'll get on Twitter and I'll say, hey, Twitter, do your thing. And so I got online and I said, hey, folks, and I'm panicking at this point, but I'm saying Modern Herstory doesn't have a publisher yet. Twitter, do your thing. And, whatever. Took a nap, because I love naps. And then LeVar Burton, if you don't know LeVar Burton, of reading Rainbow and Roots and Star Trek fame, that LeVar Burton, he goes, retweet, quote tweet. Hey, folks, someone published this woman's book. And then it got published, like instantly. But no, people were reaching out to us and saying things like, oh, can we speak to your book agent? Do you have a book proposal? And I was like, oh, absolutely. I'm a queen finesser. So I was like, oh, totally. We're getting a lot of, inquiries right now. Just give me a moment. I'll be in touch. We're just, by the end of the week. I had no idea what a book proposal was or what a book agent was or that those were real things. And so I contacted one of my friends online, Feminista Jones, and she told me, okay, call me at work. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm talking to Feminista Jones. She's amazing. You should follow her. And so she called me and we talked through what a book proposal was. And it's for those who don't know, because everyone can be an author, and white heteronormative society tells us that we can't. So let me tell you right now, you can be an author. All you need is like what your intro would be and a couple of chapters, as well as what makes you like worthy to publish. And that's what a book proposal is. So like go home and get that book published, because we all have one in us. Anyway, so so I finished that up, and we start sending it out. And then one of my friend Lori, their roommate was a book agent. That's convenient as hell. And so she becomes our book agent, Greta Moran, and we start sending it out. And I just, after 10 rejections, I was like, this is not happening. After 15 rejections, I was confident that it wasn't going to happen. It was just like a pipe dream, and we were going to have to like give everybody the money back, and I didn't know how that was going to happen. So it's going to be, they're going to make a Netflix documentary, and then Hulu's going to make like a competing documentary. And so I was really stressed out. Both of those were great. Netflix did a better Fire Festival documentary. Anyway, so not sponsored. So anyway, they, we're getting all these rejections, and there are people who are telling us things like, why is Robin Rihanna Fenty in your book? She's not a feminist icon. And I was like, you shouldn't be in the bookmaking business. Or why aren't there more white women in the book? To which I was like, I'm not going to respond to that email. This is going to be ugly. But I ended up, coming back with the response that there are so many books that emphasize, cis, straight, white women who are privileged, who were born to be history makers. And yet everyone who looks like me and who is part of my community is left to the sidelines. We're left to the index, where we are not even able to articulate what our achievements are, because it's a miracle that we even got to where we are, which is not the case. There's brilliance, and there is intrigue everywhere and in every demographic, yet we are not able to learn about it because of structural and systemic issues like racism, oppression, etc. Send. And so I sent that email, and Then we got a message from Caitlin Ketchum, who wanted to have a meeting with me in San Francisco. I was there for the GLAAD Awards. It was fantastic. My sister told me that my outfit looked like a Pokemon, which in retrospect it did. Gothel, to one of the newer generations. Anyway, I only acknowledged the original 150. So, love Pokemon. Anyway, her name is Caitlin Ketchum. So I'm like, yes, Ash Ketchum, let's go. We have a meeting, and during the meeting, she's telling me, we have other books that talk about women and that talk about, like, different aspects of society, the LGBTQ community. What makes your book special? And in my spiciness, I said, well, you do, and they're diverse, but you don't have any written by women of color. And I'm like, why? Put those words back, that's not the time to be spicy. But she took it. She took the challenge, and she came back to me within 24 hours with an offer, and now I have a book. And yeah. And it was really amazing. LeVar Burton did the blurb on the back, and at the end it says, but you don't have to take my word for it, which is so great. And I'm working on another book right now as well. And the thing that I love to say, because it pisses off OG authors, a lot of folks for folks, Mr. Brown over here and Mr. Leighton and Reamer, we are influencer authors, which means we're not real authors. JK, we are, because we are. But a lot of people think that when you come into writing in a way that's non-traditional, it's not as important. But it is just as, if not more important, because we need more voices out here. We need more diverse stories being told. And so what I love to say to people who are those establishment authors is that I don't know how to use commas. And I've written not one but 2 books. So you can follow your dreams, and you can do that too. Yes for no commas. The American public education system. But more than that, my second book, which I'm really excited about, is called Making Our Way Home, and it's going to come out in 2020. And what makes me excited about it is that I was able to cite We Are Everywhere and talk about how the lights. Maybe that's for me to wrap up. Anyway, what's exciting for me is that I was able to talk about people like Georgia Black, who passed away in 1951, but she was a Black woman who was transgender and lived her truth and was accepted by her entire community in a time before trans people existed. But trans people, LGBTQ people, we have always been here. And like I said before, like the rainbow that represents us, LGBTQ people are beautiful and naturally occurring. And we will be here, and we are everywhere. And you should buy that book. Thank you so much. I'm Blair Imani, and thank you so much for having me.